first episode of the TYR Wodapalooza podcast. We're excited to have this first podcast. It's sponsored by the one and only TYR. Not only do they sponsor the event, they also sponsor this podcast that's going to bring you all of those amazing Wodapalooza Miami vibes into your space wherever it is that you're at. I'm Guido Trinidad, and I'm your host. And I also have a co-host here by the name of Stephen Wexler, who's also our producer. What's up, Wex?
What is up, Guido? Thank you for having me on the show and being here. And I'm excited to do this, man.
Yeah.
You kind of glazed over. Tell them a little bit about kind of you and what you got going on, and let's introduce people to this thing.
So
let's start.
Yeah, I guess we could start with one another. Maybe some people are looking at us and like, who are these guys? I'm just here for Wodapalooza. So quick bio on myself, right? I happen to be the co-founder of Wodapalooza. Pretty awesome opportunity that I had many, many years ago. 2012 was the first event, but it all was founded in 2011. And so I got to do that. I also founded and operate Peak 360 here out of Miami, where the infamous Noah Olsen and his famous dog train and live, basically. I've also been doing CrossFit for, long time now, since 2008. I've had the opportunity to compete at a high level and qualify for the games and compete at the games 3 times. 1 time as I guess you could say in the elite category, and then 2 times in the elite masters category. And so, yeah, here I am. I am also a father of 3 beautiful girls and a husband to 1 beautiful woman by the name of Virginia. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Wex.
I love it, man. Yeah, I am the host of the WZA Podcast, and people are like, well, what do you have to do with Wodapalooza? TYR Wodapalooza reached out to me 2 years ago, and I came on as a podcast host on their stage. And from there, was able to kind of help steer the podcast stage to what it was last year, which was a huge must-see event. Like, we had people stacked up everywhere. So I am the podcast manager for TYR Wodapalooza on site, and also your co-host and producer. And I have my own podcast, the WZA Podcast, where I talk to basically everybody. But this is going to be a fun venture. I love working with you. I got to come down there and train in your gym last week, and I'm still actually sore from Chad 1000X. But hey man, we're recovering. We're good, and excited to join you on this journey and get this show going.
Let's go, man. I'm pumped. I'm sure people are wondering, okay, Wodapalooza is an event. Why are they doing a podcast? What's this all about? Let's dive into that real quick. So, we really believe that you guys want to know the workouts in advance. So we're just going to, give them to all the listeners that are tuning in, and no one else will know. So you guys that are listening, just keep them for yourselves. We're going to bring all the tips and tricks as well. All right, we're lying. That's one big lie. No, really, what we want to do is just bring the spirit of Wodapalooza into your everyday life, right? Wodapalooza has been for many years only a 1-time-a-year event, and now, as we all know, is moving to a 2-time-a-year event. But that still is not enough, right? Wodapalooza and what it represents is a celebration of fitness and community of life. And so we want to bring that same energy to a podcast, to your ears, where you could maybe be having a rough day and you just listen to something that's going to uplift you. And what is it exactly that we're going to be, celebrating is, obviously Wodapalooza has a lot to celebrate in its uniqueness, right? We have a great venue, we have great, sponsors and volunteers, but really what we're celebrating are the lives of people, right? That make up this beautiful community that we are celebrating, in fact. So we're going to be telling stories about people who have struggles, have adversities, and have overcome. And all that is really worth celebrating. We're really excited to bring you that same energy that we have on Miami for 4 days into your
And we also, with the TYR Wodapalooza podcast, we're bringing you interviews. We've got sponsors coming on. We've got athletes coming on. Obviously, we're going to talk to you. We're going to talk to people like Dylan, Matt O'Keefe, basically give you kind of the inner workings of the TYR Wodapalooza event. But as Guido, you said, we're going to tell stories as well, celebrate the community and that vibe that Miami brings. And now California, we're going to bring that to you here in podcast form. And I'm very excited to be jumping into that and kind of taken a role in making this grow even bigger than what it already is. And we talked a little bit about that when I was down there with you before, about kind of the growth of TYR Wodapalooza from what it was when you started to what it is today. So I wanted to ask you, Guido, like, what was it like at the very beginning? How did you even get this idea for this this amazing event that is happening in Miami, and now going to be in California next year in September? You know, what was the start of it? What brought it about, and how did you see it playing out in your mind?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, but I'll keep
That's what
it.
we're bringing. We're bringing loaded questions, man.
Yeah, we're bringing big questions, man. I'm gonna spill it all, but no, really, I think at the end of the day, look, when anybody who's involved in Wodapalooza on a consistent basis and makes, whether you're making the trip out there from another country, or you're willing to invest money and be a sponsor, or you're willing to invest money and be an athlete and compete and want that experience, or you're a volunteer and you're investing even more than time and money, but you're investing in your hard work. You do it because you value what it is that we have, and it's the community. It's very unique, right? Like, you can work out anywhere, you can work out on your own, but it's very different, the impact that it has on your life when you do it in community. And so, to answer your question, I think that Wodapalooza is really just a microcosm, right, of what we all have on a day-to-day basis, and it's just all brought together in full color in a very loud, in a very enthusiastic, in a very intentional manner. Just like, let's have like a big party celebrating like the beauty of this community that we live in. And so how it all started, and really just to kind of bring that in a short form, was, you know, I had an opportunity with my former co-founder to start kind of like an affiliate, I guess you could say, at the park that it's been hosted at for, you know, since day one, called Miami Bayfront Park. And when I was brought out there, we started to, you know, talk about the vision of what it would look like. I'd bring a container out here and pull-up bars here, and we could, you know, store the barbells there. And they were like, whoa, slow down, buddy. This is not happening. Like, we cannot store things here long-term. Barbells, you know, all this talk, like, no, sorry, that's not what we had. And I was like, well, that's what we do. We do CrossFit. I thought maybe they thought we were just doing some sort of boot camp where we did push-ups and air squats and like stuff like that all day. Obviously, we know that's not the case. So from there, we started to, you know, just use our imagination. Like, hey, what can we do here? Like, what do you guys typically do at this park? Because they ran like free yoga classes for the community, and they were just trying to add another element there. They say, well, you know, the majority of our time is spent on hosting events like Ultra, like Ironman. And I said, hold right there. Yeah, that's right. You hold Ultra here. I'd never really been to the event because it just wasn't my cup of tea, but I know what it looked like, and I know what that energy was like. And I thought, what if we had an Ultra version of CrossFit in this setting right here? And thus it was born right there, just with that idea. And so, yeah, we brought it back home, and we said, okay, how are we going to put this all together? We really didn't know what it was going to be called. We didn't know when it was going to happen. We didn't know how many divisions. We didn't do anything. We just said, hey, let's just kind of do a throwdown back here on the water and start figuring things out. I have no event organizing experience. I think the benefit was that, you know, I had competed at a high level, had run a gym, and just being a fitness enthusiast. So playing multiple roles within, you know, this environment, this industry has just lended itself to, you know, put something cool together. So that's kind of the history of how it started. And then, you know, here we are 15, I don't even know how many years, 13 years later.
Yeah. And I love, just, we've talked about the vibe, and the vibe is something we talk about a lot with Miami, just in general. Miami is its own vibe, not even just the TYR Wodapalooza. But you go to Miami, it's a completely different culture. I'm from Florida, and Miami still seems foreign to me when I come down there, but I love it. It's such a great energy. And kind of my background is I actually started DJing when I was 15 years old. So when you say Ultra, like, I get all these visions in my head. Like, I remember Ultra. I know, you know, kind of the things that they would do there with, you know, the music and the energy and a lot. And if you don't know what Ultra is, it's an electronic dance festival. Basically, it's electronic DJ concert where they bring in, you know, artists from all over the place. They all descend on one location. It's just a big party. And I think you guys have done a great job of encompassing that in fitness. I mean, you also, of course, have the DJs there.
And people are passing out just like in Ultra, but just some different substances, right?
Yeah, pre-workout. But yeah, so I mean, you guys have brought that energy, there. Now, we talked about, of course, the beginning and the start, and I know, you alluded to Ultra being kind of one of the, the blueprints. How did you see that playing out as we go? Year one, you have what, 100, 150, I think, athletes signed up?
Yeah, year one, 150 athletes. And then I would say after that, it was 500 when we really only had in our minds set to do like 300. And then from 500 went to 800. And then I think it went into the thousands, and we just didn't stop counting. But,
yeah,
the rest is history there. But yeah, I think, the intention behind what we were doing was just to provide a really amazing experience for everyone. And then eventually it's kind of like, I always relate, it's really interesting, right? Like Wodapalooza and its growth to that of almost like a human being, right? And I'm only 43, so I know that I'm going to continue to have a lot of years ahead of me of enlightenment and wisdom gained. But I do recall a time in my life when I was a teenager and I started to really look in the mirror and be like, who am I and who do I want to be? When you're a little kid, you just are, like you're not really thinking much about how you're acting. You're just being a kid, right? It's the beauty of being a kid. Like ignorance is bliss. And I think that was us in the beginning. We're just like, let's just have fun and go crazy. I would say right around like year 3, we're like, okay, hold on a second. Who do we want to be? What do we want to be about? Because it started to really grow in notoriety and people started to travel all over to be here. And so I think we started to think about our legacy and what is it that we wanted to really make an impact in what way. And one of the first things, and maybe because of my, background in professional sports, I played football for many years. I trained professional athletes, and then I started to compete at a high level at CrossFit. I really wanted to help contribute to the professionalization of the sport. And then after that, and I think we've played our part in that, and we currently are as well. The second thing I would say was, we wanted to create an experience for everyone. We realized at a pretty early stage that like, if this is just fun for the athletes, no one's going to come. Like just the athletes will come, right? And maybe the people that really love them or like them are like, all right, cool, I'll suffer through a few workouts and then I'm out. But we needed to leverage this and make it an experience for everyone involved, from the person who was spectating to the volunteer, to the sponsor, to the athlete. And then I think that the other legacy that we probably have left behind or are leaving is just being innovative and risk-taking, right? Like not like we planned from day one, like, yeah, we're going to have an adaptive division and we're going to have all these stages, right? Like that wasn't the plan, but every single time we're confronted with an opportunity, we're looking at it and saying, okay, like how can we not just be different, but be true to ourselves and the ideas and the creativity that flows from who we are? Like, let's take a risk here. What's the worst that can happen? We could change it later or not do that again, right? And so I think being innovative is important, and having that festive atmosphere was one that we probably led with. And then the last two, I think, we're kind of shifting the mindset of competition from, instead of it being so like harsh and strict and like, win or die, is like, hey, like redefine winning. Maybe winning could be simply just, I get to be here and express my fitness. I made it here, right? And while I'm going to give my best, I'm going to celebrate the opportunity that I have to be here and this experience, because I don't even know if I'll be back next year, right? So I think shifting that for people really became like, wow, this could be, I think you mentioned in our last conversation, like an all-star game, right?
Yeah.
People have a level of joy when you do things with a little bit less pressure, but you still compete hard and you still want to win.
Yeah, I mean, listen, money is money at the end of the day, and I mean, you guys started out as being one of the first competitions that actually paid athletes a good amount of money.
Yeah,
obviously, it's nothing compared to today.
98% of the athletes aren't going to make any money; they're spending the money. So how do we provide an experience for them to be excited about every year? And it's just shifting that mindset for people a little bit. But just to close on like what's the legacy, right? Is I would say the last piece was, is really make the emphasis of the event the community, and help people to see like the value, and to be a reminder of the value of what we have here and how unique it is, right? And just like tell that story of, hey, yes, you have Pat Vellner, Noah Olson, Sarah Sigmund's, like, you know, all the names here, but you also have the guy who pays the membership fee for you to even train at the gym that you're at. And you have the gym owner that's there, and you have the adaptive person that's there, and you have the sponsor that's producing the shoes, and you have like the coaches who, like, every single person plays a role in making this ecosystem happen. Let's celebrate that and the unity of that. And so I think really, if there's one thing that Wodapalooza can leave a legacy on, is like, hey, the events that we have in CrossFit should have an emphasis and a focus on celebrating the community 100%.
Yeah. And one of the big things that has been done in recent years is the Gauntlet, which even if you're not one of the ones that, you know, comes and does the main competition, you can still come and throw down for an hour in the Gauntlet right there alongside. I mean, Justin Medeiros did it last year. He didn't compete, you know.
Here's the best. The Gauntlet is the best kept secret at Wodapalooza. It is harder than the competition.
Yes.
100%. 100%. Oh, yeah. Like, there's no doubt. Like, would you rather run a 5K or a marathon? I'd rather run a 5K. Yes, the intensity is higher on a 5K, but the marathon is just mentally brutal. That is the Gauntlet. It's just mentally brutal because you're doing all these workouts back to back to back. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Thanks for that hype, seeing as how this might be the first year I'm actually doing the Gauntlet. now I'm terrified.
Babies, let's commit. Let's go.
Let's go. Well, I know they had like a media group that went and did one of the Gauntlets. So you had people like Andrew Hiller, you had John Woolley from Make Wads Great Again, you had the Buttery Bros in there, you had Tommy Marquez, I think Lauren Khalil jumped in, Justin Medeiros jumped into a Gauntlet. So I mean, you could literally be lining up next to anyone if you come and do the Gauntlet. And
that'll be you, man. You and I'll put you and Dylan in a workout. That'd be fun.
Because he doesn't have enough going on, I'm sure.
So I'm curious, though, just shifting gears real quick, right? Because we're talking about the experience of Wodapalooza for those who know and have been, what the experience is like. But I'm curious what your experience has been like as a spectator. Obviously, last year you helped and led the podcast, but prior to that, what has been your experience, and what keeps you coming back and so excited about TYR Wodapalooza?
Oh man, so that's the biggest thing I had heard for years and years and years. I'm like, it's just this huge party. It's great. It's fun. The athletes are amazing, and it's just this whole vibe. And to say that, if you've never been to TYR Wodapalooza and you're hearing us talk about, it's that vibe. You know, it's just different. It's this. Keep in mind, anything that I'm saying pales in comparison to what it's like when you're actually there. You get on site and it's just such a different experience than anything you're used to. If you've been to like, even it's like a local competition, but on steroids. You know, you have that family feel where everybody is there. They're buzzing around the vendor village. They're checking in on athletes. They're looking at, you know, all the stuff that's going on, but it feels local, but also feels huge at the same time. And the biggest thing, you know, kind of that all-star games comparison is that, you know, you have the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is all serious. Like, you know, people are there and they're, you know, it's all about the championship. It's all about finding the best team in football. Like, that's what the Super Bowl is.
Yeah.
Then you have the all-star game where you've got all these like little things going on all around the city. And that is Bayfront Park. It is the all-star of CrossFit because you have, you know, it was not uncommon to be walking around and seeing, you know, Danielle Brandon walking around walking her dog throughout vendor village and hanging out over at the podcast stage and, you know, going and checking things out. And you're seeing people get into, you know, ice baths and like everybody's just kind of involved with everything. One of my best friends got a tattoo at last year's event. And if you know anything about that,
you know that guy. That's good. I was wondering who that guy was. I think there was more than one. There might have been 2 or 3.
Yeah, no, there was actually, I think a lot more than that. I think we're giving out a lot of tickets this year for people who got the TYR Wodapalooza logo tattoo, and they get free tickets for life is what the deal was last year.
That's cool. That's a genius idea.
So it's just, it was so much fun. Like you start seeing things at the CrossFit Games mimicking TYR Wodapalooza, which is cool because you went to the games this year and HWPO was up there doing tattoos. It's like, oh, I wonder where you got that idea.
Well, when you're saying that, I really believe it, which is cool. Like, I love the fact that TYR Wodapalooza gets to be innovators in many ways. But the reality is, if we're comparing ourselves to a brand, let's just say Disney World, right? There is no other Disney World. Like,
Yeah.
it just isn't, right? And you go to Disney World, you get to meet the characters, you get to have fun, and you're there and you're just immersed in another world that cannot be replicated. There are other
Absolutely.
theme parks, there's other events, but there is no other TYR Wodapalooza. And so we're really excited for bringing this show and giving you a little bit of that, again, that magic, so to speak, in your ears on a consistent basis. I think that this is a good start right here with this show, and giving them a little background on your experience, on our vision, on the purpose of the podcast. And we're excited. We hope that you guys continue to listen. We're asking you guys to subscribe and stay in the know with not only the current events of TYR Wodapalooza and all the things that are coming up, but most importantly, really these stories that we want to share and tell to continue that celebratory mindset and energy throughout the year.
Absolutely. And go and like and subscribe. Obviously, you should be following on Instagram, the TYR Wodapalooza the Instagram page. We're going to be on YouTube on the Loud and Live page. You can also follow us along on Spotify for podcasts. That is going to be where you can watch video and audio. And then we're going to be anywhere that you can find your streaming services for podcasts. So Apple, Google, all the usual suspects. We're going to be everywhere. We're going to be doing it big because that's the only way that we can do this, right? Guido, man, thank you for launching this show, and we're back, and look forward to giving everyone weekly content. We're going to try and do this weekly, and you're going to host some shows. I'm going to host some shows. We're going to have guests. We're going to have all sorts of cool things. And a huge shout out to our sponsor TYR for making sure that we're geared up, that we're looking good. But they've been a great sponsor for Wodapalooza. TYR has been, they were amazing last year, and I can only imagine what they're going to do this year as well. This is their second year sponsoring the event and also taking over California. So they're doing it big, just like Miami, just like Wodapalooza, the TYR Wodapalooza. It's a match made in heaven. So
let's go. Love it.
Let's
awesome,
go.
Guys. All right. Well, until next time, Wex. See you soon.
Yeah, man.
Take care.